So, welcome back, peeps, and today we're going to do some more of the wondrous world of Utopia, written by me, chapters 16 through 18, and what we're going to start with is chapter 16, which is titled Titanomanders. Titanomanders are basically exactly what they sound like, giant salamanders, which are native to Alberia and Lemonada, and if I'm not mistaken, Alberia is this. Yep, that's definitely Alberia. This is Alberia, and Lemonada is right here, because it kind of does look like a lemon. Let me take this cover off so you can actually see the map a lot better. Alberia is that spiral kind of continent, and Lemonada is that kind of lemon-shaped thing. And a quick run through all the map. Abigalia, Lemonada, Arcadia, Plutonia, the Palmlands, Abesia, the Beach Islands or the Beachlands, and Aprilia. All 9 continents, except for the Beach Islands. And yep, so quick run through. They are native to Lemonada and Alberia. They are very large. The males can reach lengths of 23 feet with a weight of 2 to 3 tons, which is pretty big. But wait until you hear this next part. The females are much larger and can grow 45 to 50 feet and can weigh up to 11 tons. Which means they are about as big as a Giganotosaurus, just not nearly as tall because of being salamanders and having those legs. They are brown to black in color with spots and stripes that are different colors or multicolored. Their adult lives are spent on land, and they dig burrows in the soil. Now these burrows are so large and deep that they can be mistaken for caves. But if you were exploring and you decided to go into one of these caves, you would never come out again. Go to the next page. I shouldn't really list that we're going to the next page. Titanomanders communicate by roaring, growling, hissing, burping, farting, and croaking. They lay their eggs in rivers and lakes, and those eggs hatch into larvae or creatures that kind of look like axolotls, which is what normal salamanders go through as their metamorphosis. And they start out only 5 inches long, and then they start eating algae. As they feast on algae, they get bigger and 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 bigger. After they reach at least 30 feet, they climb out of the water and shed their gills. Their intestines shorten and their teeth sharpen. Titanomanders are carnivores. Their main prey is megagastropods, which are those giant slugs that we mentioned, and freshwater billworms, not to be confused with billers. But they can also eat billers and abelopods. They are not limited to this diet. They will eat anything small enough to fit in their mouths. Gigantic mouths, actually. And they are the apex predators of their ecosystem. Their powerful jaws, which are decorated with needle-sharp teeth, backward-facing teeth, can bite with a force of 15 to 20 tons. They cannot chew their prey or tear it apart because of the design of their teeth, but they swallow it whole. The teeth are only used to make it next to impossible for something they catch to escape once they get caught. They attack by lunging at their prey and swallowing it whole. clamping down on it and swallowing it whole. In short bursts, they can reach speeds of 25 miles per hour. They have an average life expectancy of 150 to 200 years, and we wrap up Titanimanders here, and we go to Chapter 17, which is the giant thorned cricket. The giant thorned cricket is one of the giant insects living in the Abigalian rainforest. Again, a quick run through of where Abigalia is. It is that big plus sign that you see, which means that this place is mostly rainforest, and the rainforest here is huge. And there's this river that goes through all the sides, and that is Abigalia. So they're one of the giant insects native to the Abigalian rainforest. They're able to get as big as they do because of the high oxygen percentage in Utopia's atmosphere. Now, the reason we don't have big giant insects on Earth is because of the way insects breathe. They use spiracles. Now, if you're not familiar, spiracles are these small holes on the sides of a bug's body, and they connect to a series of tubes that run all throughout their bodies that allow them to breathe. And they don't have lungs, so they get their oxygen delivered to all their organs throughout these tubes rather than lungs. So, which means that the bigger the bug is, the more oxygen they need outside or in the outside environment in order to get enough oxygen deep inside them to their vital organs and parts that they need to survive. And if they were bigger and living in Earth's current oxygen levels of 21%, they wouldn't be able to breathe. They wouldn't get enough oxygen to breathe because every breath they took would just deplete before it gets to the important parts of that bug. Which is why bugs on Earth are small. In fact, there was a time 300 million years ago when oxygen levels on Earth were a little over 30%. This means that insects were much bigger than most people would like them to be. Google it. Google giant prehistoric insects or giant prehistoric dragonflies, and you will get that. How big dragonflies were. Or Arthroplora, is a species of giant millipede that was alive a few 100 million years ago, and they were absolutely giant. In Utopia's atmosphere, where the oxygen levels are over 40%, which is a lot higher than at any point in Earth's history, the crickets, as well as other creatures and insects, are granted the luxury of being able to get terrifyingly big. The giant thorned cricket is usually 11 to 14 feet long, 8 to 9 feet tall, which means that if these crickets were in your house, the top of its thorax would be touching your ceiling, and they weigh 150 to 200 pounds, which is about the weight of the average person. The crickets are black in color with very long antennae, spiky legs, spikes on their thorax, and large heads with sharp and powerful mandibles. They are basically a giant-sized version of this. Now, this cricket, I can find a picture of. It's a giant armored cricket that is native. I don't know where it's native, but it's a giant armored cricket, and this is basically what it looks like. And that's what the giant thorned cricket looks like, just a little bigger. Well, a lot bigger, because it's 8 feet tall. So this is not a bug you would want to see in your house, a giant thorned cricket, because you would need a lot of raid to bring this down, and a flip-flop wouldn't even put a dent in this thing's exoskeleton. The males have wings so that they can chirp, but they can't fly with those wings, and the females have no wings at all. They are native to the rainforest, jungles, and meadows of southern Abigalia, of eastern and southern Abigalia. They lay their eggs in soft, moist soil. The females use their ovipositors, which are these stinger-like organs that crickets have. If you've ever saw crickets that look like they have these long stingers at the ends of their abdomens, they're not stingers, they're just ovipositors, which are these long, sharp things that they use to dig deep into the soil, and they plant their eggs in the soil once they're done digging in it. The eggs hatch into nymphs that look like smaller versions of the adults. These look like normal-sized crickets at first, and then they eat and molt and grow. And then they keep eating and molting and growing. They do this 20 to 30 more times before they reach adulthoods. So they molt. It takes them about 20 to 30 molts to reach their giant size, whereas with earthly crickets, I don't know why my voice keeps cracking, they do this in 5 to 10 molts. The giant thorn cricket, like most crickets, are omnivores, feeding on both plant material, mushrooms, fruit, and also meat. The meat portion of their diet consists of, this list might be a little long, permapillars, baby billers, biller's eggs, worms, carrion, baby slobsters, baby guacamole eggs, ablopod eggs, the giant Abigailian cockroach, juvenile megagastropoda, and juvenile megagastropoda. They attack by wrapping their spiky legs around, or spiked legs around the prey, and then they use their large, sharp mandibles to start eating the unfortunate prey while it's still alive, because they don't really have venom or a way to dispatch the prey quickly like big cats. They just start eating while it's alive and let shock or blood loss or whatever comes first do the trick. So this means that the prey can stay alive and fully conscious while being eaten for up to 15 minutes, which is a very, very terrible way to go. Being alive and being eaten alive for 15 minutes. And as I mentioned in chapter 1, things like billers don't have the ability to pass out or go into shock from the pain. So those things will be feeling every second of the pain, and they will feel it all the way up until they die. If the billers are like small or they just molted and these crickets are eating them. They are able to jump 40 to 50 feet up in the air, and horizontally they can jump 200 to 300 feet, which means you could be on one side of a football field and this cricket could be on the other side, and it could jump all the way to the other side and pounce on you and start eating you alive, which is not something you want to ever encounter a giant thorn cricket. They can also run at speeds of 65 miles per hour. Their natural predators include the giant Abigailian leech, slobsters, bacon amphipods, guacamole, the giant river crab, ambush prawns, adolphias, and a whole slew of spiders. And also each other. They are cannibalistic. They have an average lifespan of 40 years. And we wrap up giant thorn crickets, and we go on to chapter 18, which is the final chapter for today. And if you're a seafood lover or a crab lover, you might like this one. Chapter 18, Megacrustacea moses, the giant river crab. The giant river crab is a species of alipod, the planet's replacement to crustaceans. I would have stressed that as many times as possible, so that when we get to the next crab or crustacean-like creature, you already know that it's not a crustacean, it's an alipod.
I don't know how my nap time turned into cartoon movies.
They are bluish-gray in color. Recorded. They are bluish-gray in color, similar to the blue crab, But except, unlike the blue crab, which has blue claws, they have large black claws and a white underbelly, stereotypical of a blue crab. And they also have 3 compound eyes on large movable stalks on their heads. These crabs are huge. They're usually around 15 feet across, and they weigh 1 to 2 tons, which is about the size of a typical car. So if you wanted to eat this crab, if you like seafood or crabs, you would have a lot of crab to eat and a lot of leftovers. As their name implies, they live in freshwater bodies such as rivers, though they can also inhabit lakes and large ponds, or just in the mud. They are native to Abigalia, Arcadia, Plutonia, Aprilia, and Beachland, and Lemonada. They lay their eggs in the same rivers that they inhabit. Unlike most crabs, they don't need salt water to breed. Although they can survive in salt water, they don't really need it to breed. Like most freshwater crabs that migrate to the ocean to spawn their eggs. The giant river crab is omnivorous and also a filter feeder. They eat plants, meat, and also plankton, using feather-like structures around their mouths, which means they can have abundance of food almost all the time. If they run out of large prey or large plants, they can subsist on plankton, like whales, which is why these crabs are so big. With their large claws, they can pinch down with a force of 60 to 100 tons. This could chop a school bus clean in half. And also, which means that if you got pinched by this crab, it would chop your leg clean off without even trying. They can also leap upward and grab prey that is swimming above them. This means that if this crab would clamp onto your leg, tell your family and friends that you love them, because actually you won't be able to do that because you'll be too busy drowning. Their predators include titanomanders, slobsters, guacamolia, adolphias, and bulligators. They have a lifespan of 100 to 200 years, and that's where we end. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy your crab. Comment if you would eat the giant river crab. Thank you.